Welcome to another episode of All About the Sauce. Today we're going to be hitting one of our big staple sauces, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise has quite the interesting history story to it. In fact, there's kind of a little bit of a battle between who has the rights to that story, whether it's the Spanish or whether it's the French. There was a battle that was happening with an island off the coast of Spain, and both the French and the Spanish were fighting the British at the time, and there was a major victory that took place. The French claimed that, and the Duke at the time, who won the city of that island, had a huge feast. The chef of the Duke ended up making a huge feast for this, and he had a special sauce that he was going to have. The only problem he had was he didn't have the ingredients that he needed to pull off that sauce. He needed cream and he didn't have it. So he improvised, and he, instead of making cream with that sauce, he used oil. And there was a process that was kind of invented in the process that he didn't even know he was doing. And so it kind of happened by accident, where the emulsion effect, where the oil and the liquid and the egg yolk emulsified that sauce into what we know today as mayonnaise. So come with me now, let's make homemade mayonnaise. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually take an egg, and that egg is going to be at room temperature. That's kind of the secret and the tip that I kind of found with this process. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take the yolk. We're not going to take the white with it. And if you've never done this before, it's pretty simple. All you do is you kind of half the egg and you let that white kind of come out. And what you do is you just kind of pass that yolk back and forth until you have just the yolk left. Alright, now that we've got the egg yolks in our bowl, I'm just going to tip this just so it might be a little easier to see. And the next thing I do is I add my mustard, and rather than like measure out the mustard, I try to make it equal portion size to each yolk. So I have 4 yolks. Almost 4 tablespoons, maybe just a little less. So once the mustard and the yolk blend together, we kind of have a good base to our sauce and what we're going to be doing. All I do is I just give about 4 drops of vinegar, like I said, about 4 teaspoons. So 1 teaspoon per yolk. So that's probably 2 actually. Blend that together as well just to get that mix with the yolk. So I'm using just a canola oil and just a few little drizzle drops just to get it started. The rest is really just getting that sauce started, and you want that emulsion effect, so you really want to whisk like crazy. Stop there for a second. Really get that going. Like I said, you're going to trust the process on this. This is where the oil really needs to come into play. You can really start pouring a little more liberally with the oil. See where it's coming together? Perfect. Like I said, trust that process. That oil will really bring it together. You're gonna think it's not gonna, but you gotta keep on pouring that oil in. And there it is. We got homemade mayonnaise. Basically, and that's all there is to it, making homemade mayonnaise. It is much harder, I can tell you, honestly, it is labor intensive. After a while, your shoulder and your arm feels like they're gonna fall off. And so it's gonna be much easier, much faster to use a blender or a food processor. There is something about making homemade mayonnaise. If you compare it to store-bought, nothing like it. You'll notice that it's more of like a yellowish color rather than a white color. That's because of the natural yolk and the mustard added to it. Drop a comment below, like it, subscribe, follow along. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me about your experiences maybe doing some homemade mayo. As always, let's get saucing.